Hey, thanks again for making the time to join in. My name is Jeff Fuller. Jay Fuller Interviews is where you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Jay Fuller Interviews, and now as the Backfire Podcast with Jeff Fuller of Jay Fuller Interviews on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. I certainly believe people's stories make our stories better. Just make the time to listen, learn, unlearn, and relearn so you can hear from someone else that might be a benefit to you. One now with a great story is Ben DeCastro. Ben, how are you?
Hey, Jay, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. I just want to get right to it. Behind me, there's a picture of you wearing a mask and serving with the Pawtucket Red Sox or the Paw Sox. How did you first get engaged with the Paw Sox?
So I was working with a regional furniture company called Carty's Furniture and Mattresses. That's really one of the basis for my influencership, if you want to call it, here in Rhode Island. I'd been with them for a number of years, and they had we had done a sponsorship deal with Carty's Furniture and Mattresses for the Paw Sox. And just on a whim, I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, Mike Tamboro, and also Michael Gwynn. And I said, hey, listen, I don't know much about sports, but I've always wanted to do the announcer thing. So if you ever had a night where it was just like a low crowd or somebody couldn't show up, then let me know. Because I actually grew up, we lived until I was 10 years old, less than a mile from McCoy Stadium.
McCoy.
So I went to, McCoy as a child, with family, with my uncles, my dad, my grandfather. That was our thing. So for me, it was a lifelong kind of exciting thing. And I got the call one day, very last minute. They said, hey, can you be at the stadium in 30 minutes? Because we need somebody to do a game. Somebody called out. I drove like you wouldn't believe to get there. And so that was back in 2012. And, I filled in a couple times that year and the following year. And then they had some changes with the ownership. They had some changes just overall. And there was an opening and they said, hey, we'd love you to do it. So it worked out well. I had since switched up how I was working with Cardias. Was no longer full-time employed. I was more of a like I am now, where I do work with them as still as a vendor, but it's fun, but it gives me opportunity to do other things.
So you certainly have the voice for it. And you said that you always wanted to be kind of that announcer guy. When did you realize that you enjoyed having that voice, but using it for that type of purpose?
I mean, I've always done performing. So you go way back. I started playing accordion when I was like 5 years old. And then, started playing music and, you get into these different things, and I kind of grew into my voice. My grandfather was always, encouraging me to do things, and I enjoyed public speaking and entertaining. It's fun. So the voice, I mean, you really can't choose your voice. There's certain things you can do to improve various elements of it, but the tenor is the tenor, so just went with that. And there's things you can do to kind of push yourself, but I really had fun that first time doing it, and getting the crowd going, getting the crowd amped as much as I could as the announcer in between innings and calling up batters. But that's kind of, I don't know if I answered the question the right way there, but it's you're a hard interview. You can certainly press me on it. Sure.
No, that's good. And behind me, there's a picture. You, I guess, at McCoy, sitting out the window, not falling out. But last year,
much to the chagrin of OSHA. So
yeah, last year was certainly interesting. And right here in Vermont, the Vermont Lake Monsters, even the Mountaineers, the Woodbat League, did not have a season. How disappointing was that for you? What did you learn last year, being on hold, then not being able to participate?
It was tough. It was sad. And so they ended up using McCoy for the taxi squad. And they did a ton of simulated games, which gave the broadcast team an opportunity to do things, but not really anything for the game day guys. So that was tough. That was sad. But, I still stayed in touch with the team, still very close with with all of them throughout the whole pandemic. I mean, I'm still part of the organization, because this pandemic really came at a unique time. See, this was supposed to be our last season as the Pawtucket Red Sox.
Right.
We have been given an opportunity to go to Worcester, Massachusetts, which is on the other side of the Blackstone Valley, and become the Worcester Red Sox, a brand new field, Polar Park. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. McCoy Stadium is old. It would have been our 50th season for the Paw Sox. The stadium has been there, I think, over 70 years.
Wow.
And the field is immaculate. The stadium, the substructure and stuff, it needed a lot of work. So they tried to make it work with the government, for a new stadium. It just wasn't in the cards. Worcester had a great offer and a great opportunity. So we're excited for the new chapter there. And, so we lost out on that final season for the fans. I mean, the day the tickets went on sale for the 2020 season, long before the pandemic, the last game was sold out within minutes and games leading up to that, because it's a fun family time. So I don't know what the future holds as far as, will there be a send off? Will the new stadium be done? They're moving right along at great pace. I mean, they're really doing a great job. So there's so many variables. It'll be up in the air, but so that was kind of very sad. I actually I wrote a speech in the beginning of the season, and we launched it on what was minor league opening day, talking about the fact that the stadium was empty, and the fact that this is what we need to do right now to keep everybody safe, to get a hold of the virus, to support the doctors and nurses, the first responders who are out there trying to on the front lines, and the scientists who were doing the research at the various pharmaceutical companies. So that went semi-viral through the Paw Sox and through other fields, and we just kind of did this, and I recorded it actually at the stadium, an empty stadium, and it just had this really, it was I forget what Dr. Charles Steinberg, the team president, the team champ, I forget what the word he said, but it was like hauntingly comforting, because it was eerie with the emptiness of the stadium and the echo. And we could have, I mean, we could have done that I could have just read it into my mic here in my studio, and we could have thrown it through any of the various products out there and through echo and stadium sound and boomify it and all that other thing. But myself, Joe Jacobs, Tom Quidadamo, TQ, we said, no, this is got to be done in the stadium. So we did it safely in the stadium, just put a microphone and a recorder out there and just let it fly. And I read through it twice. And they used the cuts, and but the team learned, one of the things that the team learned was this dining on the diamond thing, which was pretty crazy. So what they did is they made it where they had at the end, I think, up to 100 people at a time with tables on the outfield dining, and they had highlights from past seasons playing. You ate ballpark food, and they stepped up the fare, but you went there, and it was you could play catch on the field. They had either 2 or 3 seatings on the weekends and stuff, and they were able to do that in between the taxi squad and everything, and it was a cool final experience for people who wanted to get over there. And so that was something different that they created. It was the Paw Sox, the team there, the full-time staff that created it. And they're doing it in other places. I think they're doing it where they actually filmed the Field of Dreams.
Sure.
I think that's, I forget where it is, Illinois somewhere, or somewhere Midwest. And they actually started doing it there using the model that they had set up at McCoy. So a good team, the Paw Sox, meaning the front office staff. So that was their efforts.
Yeah, making the most of whatever opportunity comes our way. I remember going to McCoy, and my brother, who lives South Shore, Boston, he took us, and 22 innings, is that right? Or the longest, most inning game? 23. So 33. So if you were calling that game, is that something you would like to put on your resume, or are you glad that somebody else has that dubious honor?
Well, it depends. If you ask the question around inning number 19, 20, 21, probably not so much. But I don't know if you know actually how it ended. They played the game, and there's great documentaries and stuff online about it. Some they released this year. But there were more people at the stadium at 3:00 in the morning the next day, which was Easter Sunday, than there were at 10:00 the night before. And a lot of, I mean, this is 1981. We didn't have cell phones. A lot of wives were very upset. Like, where's my husband? He hasn't gone out. When he go out drinking, he go out on a night on the town. You know who? And even, I think even the priest from the local Catholic church like called up and said, "You're going to kill my Easter Sunday service if you guys don't shut this down, please." So they were burning bats. It was so cold they were burning bats in a barrel to keep warm in the dugout, to keep the pine tar warm. It was just like it was the craziest thing. And then so they picked it back up. They finally got a hold of the minor league officers and said, "Okay, you can call it." They picked it up again in June, and it was half an inning, and it was over.
Wow.
The place was sold out. I mean, they had they had attention from all over the world. They had cameras and reporters there for something that was like an inning, not even. It's like, done. Okay. But that was against the I believe it was the Rochester Red Wings. If memory serves correct. There's a lot of factors there. There's so much knowledge in baseball, and I'm horrible to remember all of it. I think I told you beforehand. If I'm like the anchor man, if you put it on the page in front of me, I will say it. So,
well, there you go. Hey, Ben DeCastro makes up time. You can find him on Instagram, Twitter. He also has his own YouTube channel, so check that out. When I think about, partially because I grew up in Vermont, we don't have professional athletes that come out of this state. Can you just talk about the truth when people say, "Hey, they're just like me. They put on their pants one leg at a time"? When you interacted with some of the players, or especially the Red Sox that came down to rehab, what was your experience with those pro guys?
So by and large, the guys that I got to meet were so down to earth. And I'm 39 years old. I'll be 40 this year. So really the past couple of years being there, I'm old compared to a lot of these kids. And they are like I was when I was in my early 20s. They are just down to earth guys. I've struck up quite a friendship with Josh Akame. Keep your eye out on this kid. He came up through the system. He is back with the Red Sox. He re-signed. I just talked to him the other day. I did an interview with him. I have a web series called Carpooling, and I did an interview with him actually at the beginning of the season when we didn't know anything. He is the most down-to-earth, smart young man I've ever met. Because he was on the taxi squad, and before he left, he called me. He said, "Hey, I got to leave at noon. Can I meet you for breakfast?" Let's go. So we met for breakfast here in Rhode Island, and he is just, he talks to these guys, and they're just, the other players, and they're so cool. They're so down to earth. They're so nice. They love the sport. They love the game. They're working hard. They realize the opportunity that they have ahead of them, especially being in AAA and coming up and through the system. So they've been great. I've met a number of the other big names. Again, I mean, the thing that I will say though is so many of them thank me. And thank the staff there, not just me. That's like, I mean, what do? I said your name. Anybody can do that, but they're like, "Hey, thanks so much for your support." They're so appreciative. They really are. They're not divas, and even the big stars, because they get it. I mean, especially in the minor leagues, you think about like there's AHL and NHL when it comes to hockey. They have what's the main red clause for the basketball side of things but really, you're talking about, some of the teams, unfortunately, that, they have some switch ups up there in Vermont, but you're talking about single A, double A, where it's the fun of the atmosphere. And those guys realize that they're getting paid to play a game, and they're just appreciative of these opportunities and stuff. And, I've had a ton of fun with these guys. They're super nice. They couldn't be nicer. And they're really great humans and wonderful people.
What walk-up song would you choose when you would go up to bat for yourself?
Spice Girls, If You Want to Be My Lover.
There you go.
No, I don't know. It's funny because you have the picture of me right behind you right there, Cat Country. I was on this morning. I fill in on Cat Country Radio here, WCTK in Providence, Rhode Island. And God's Country by Blake Shelton was Tanner Hook's walk-up song. Well, he was a pitcher, so when he would come out as a closer, they would play that song. And Jeff, I'll tell you, we pushed every speaker in McCoy Stadium to the extreme. I mean, rattling like that. I found the light. That whole thing, like, just cranked it. I mean, the neighborhood must have loved us. They must have thought it was the second coming. It was so loud. But that song, really, it was just such a powerful thing. I don't know. I mean, we had guys have songs like that. They had guys walking on sunshine. That poppy kind of song. I might go with a ska song or something because I'm a big ska fan. Maybe Chumbawamba because I always thought that band was hilarious. But it's either that or Benny and the Jets by Elton John. I mean, you might have to hit that hook there. You never know. So we could have fun with that.
So hopefully there is a season, the vaccines work, and everything gets distributed as it should be, or hopefully will be. What type of atmosphere will the fan feel now that the Paw Sox are moving from Rhode Island to Worcester?
So it's going to be an experience similar to what they had at McCoy Stadium, and I firmly believe that because, the staff, the leadership within the Paw Sox Woo Sox organization, firmly believe this one factor. They can't control what happens on the field during the game. They can't control if the team wins or loses, but they can control every element from when you pull into the parking lot to when your ticket is taken to when you find your seat, when you're greeted by the ushers, when you ask a question, whether it's in between innings or whatnot. And, that is something that they take very seriously. Your fan experience there is huge. And one of the things that I often would share with people there, and it gets shared from time to time, and it was a lesson I learned many years ago when I was, 15, 16, I started working on a dinner dance boat. And one of my first summers there is out of Warren, Rhode Island. We're right on the water. And one of the captains said, look, a family of 5 or 6 will come on here and spend a couple $100 between having the ride to Newport, getting off the boat, buying a souvenir, coming back on the boat, taking the ride back and everything. That might be their Disney vacation.
Yeah.
So you have to deliver a Disney-like experience or, some other name your resort. I can honestly say that the team in the stands, the front office, those people, the ushers, even the concession stands, everybody, they work to deliver that experience each and every time. Moving up the road to Worcester is going to offer you a bit of a different experience, but it's going to be a beautiful experience. World-class ballpark designer Janet Marie Smith is the one who's designed this park. It looks incredible. She's the one who redid Camden Yards. She's the one who did Dodger Stadium. She's the one who did the upgrades over at Fenway Park. She is legend. She's just an absolute legend. I get to work with her son, and it's funny because he's such a down to earth, and he just has no idea of no ego to him at all. So he's so cool and down to earth. Bart Smitty, they call him, but just such a nice kid, and so it's going to be a fun experience. It's going to be a wonderful experience. It's going to pay tribute to that area.
And so, Ben, I first heard about you or met you from the Why God Why podcast. We have a mutual friend, Peter Engler, who co-hosts that program. He actually is your brother-in-law, I understand. Right. And on a recent podcast, they interviewed your sister, who she shared that she's 3 years older than Peter. When you first met Pete,
that's my sister-in-law. Yes.
What were your thoughts when you knew that they were going to get married, and that was your first introductions to Peter?
So the way our story, my wife and I, our story goes is we met through Facebook, and she was living in Springfield, Missouri at the time, we were talking the first night we talked for almost 4 hours. And I said to her about 3/4 of the way through, I said, all right, when's the next time you're going to be closer to the East Coast? And she said, well, my brother's getting married in Rochester in October. Yeah, October. Yeah, the Red Sox were getting close to the series there. And, so, I'll be there then. I said, well, do you need a date for the wedding? She goes, all right. So she was, you're going to drive there? I said, sure. So she ended up coming in the Labor Day weekend to Rhode Island. She's like, maybe we should meet without my parents and everybody first. So at Peter's wedding is actually when I met everybody in his family. And it was funny because I had told Susan that I was going to leave Rhode Island at around 4:30 in the morning because I had a big event the day before. I was going to leave around 4:30 in the morning, drive straight through it. It would have put me there around noon, 1 o'clock. The wedding was at 4, so it would have worked out. I just drank a ton of coffee, popped a couple no-dose pills, and went for it. I don't recommend doing that. And I actually walked into the hotel. She had no idea I was there because she had sent me like a text message of like, hey, are you awake at 6 o'clock? And I said, yeah, I'm on the road. And she thought I was late. I walked in and I actually sat at a table across from her father. I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, good. Do I know you? I said, yeah, I'm the guy your daughter is bringing to the wedding. And that was great. It was a good time. But so I met Peter then. I met obviously his wife, Robin, at that time, and her family, sweet people. And that was fun. It was an interesting time.
So I asked this carefully, but kind of in jest. I know that you have a good sense of humor, and so does Peter. Knowing that his wife is like a counselor, or is that tough to have in the family, that you always feel like she's analyzing, sister-in-law analyzing how you do things or why you do things?
So I love Robin dearly. She's super sweet. And so sometimes she just like when the few times when we talk, like when we go to visit and whatnot and stuff, and if I bring up concepts or ideas or I say things, she's just like, oh, okay, all right, okay, okay, and I know she's analyzing, and I just try to make it as awkward for her as possible. Like
As you should.
I won't even hug her. I'll be like, handshake, no, a little lean in, like, hey, hi, how are you? It just makes her feel so awkward because there's no connection between us except her husband and my wife, like their brother. It's like, so we're like the furthest you can be apart, and it's just like and it's fun to try to make it awkward for her, and it's it is what it is. But she is, I will say this, she is probably one of the most one of the smartest people I've met when it comes to mental health. She is brilliant. She is world renowned. She really is. She does a great job. She's really got a great talent for it.
Hey, so behind me, I just put up a picture of your YouTube channel. You talked about the episodes, I guess, that you have with different people in the vehicles. First of all, do you ever get nervous that you're going to get pulled over for filming while you're also driving?
So last year, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Live PD, but they actually have filmed in Rhode Island. And the guy who was one of the best men in my wedding is Inspector Craig Sroka. And he's been featured on Live PD. He's been on the show a number of times. They followed him and everything. And I was doing an interview in East Providence, Rhode Island, where he works. I was interviewing the head of the Boys and Girls Club in East Providence, going through. We're doing the interview. And then about towards the end of the interview, I get a message on my phone. It says, call me. So I finished the interview. So I'm driving home. I put him on the Bluetooth. I say, hey, what's up? He goes, are you driving around town? I said, yeah, I did an interview. He goes, yeah, a detective was following you for a little while, unmarked cruiser, and called in my license plate over the radio and said, called it in. And Craig heard that, that comes back to, Benjamin DeCastro out of Warren, blah, blah, blah. And Craig called that officer and said, what's going on? He goes, and the detective goes, have you seen his car? It's like a spaceship. and Craig goes, have you seen a show? It's all over the internet. And so I put a bunch of GoPro cameras, the little cube ones, in the car, and so it is all legal. And I've had guys. I ran it by. I had it checked out by my local PD here, and there was nothing. Nothing. That was would be a violation with those cameras there. And a lot of times I find like a small loop that I can drive around. So if you watch the episode, you'll see the same house like maybe 10 times. Just drive a slow loop to keep the audio down, keep it smooth, don't have to worry about merging too much.
That's a pro right there. Pro move. So Ben DeCastro, Mix Up Time, thanks again for doing so. Who do you like to listen to, or do you listen to anybody, whether you're taking notes on calling games or just want some wit, humor to add things into? Do you like to listen to other people?
I do. I love listening to various podcasts and stuff. Obviously, I try to, listen to games that are on TV. You don't necessarily always hear the PA announcer, but I try to listen intently because I want to hear what's coming over through that. So there are, people that I do like to listen to. There's a lot of groups on Facebook, whether it be play-by-play or sports broadcasters. John Rook, who is the stadium voice for the New England Patriots. He's a friend of mine. He does a great job. So it's about learning all that stuff. And, so just trying to do that. But, a lot of it too goes back to studying just presentation, I guess, to a degree through a friend of mine, Jonathan Lee Iverson. I was in Ringling Brothers Circus when I was younger. I played keyboards in there for a short time. And Jonathan Lee Iverson was the ringmaster, and he was the final one that they had before they closed the circus down. And his presentation skills and his way of like just holding yourself, there's a lot you can do there. And even though people don't see me, they hear me, but you have to smile. You have to really give the presentation. I use my hands. I'm Italian. If I'm not using my hands when I'm talking, it comes through in the audio side of things. So there's elements to that. You know what I'm talking about. It's that same thing. If you're not, like, people can hear those things through the microphone and through the speakers. So that's something I take very seriously and try to, keep that at the forefront of my mind.
Now, if you would, share with us a little bit about baseball. It can be a slow sport. I love having baseball on the radio in the background during the summer months, because when you want to hear something exciting, you can hear it, then you can turn on the TV, and, with that delay, you can watch it live, or, after that 7 seconds. But do you get bored? Like, how do you stay engaged from inning to inning? I mean, I know that there's a lot of behind the scenes, but how do you personally stay engaged with what's taking place, especially if you get into a 33 inning game?
And you're asking that to a person who is ADHD big time, like legit diagnosis. Okay. You don't believe me? Here's my Adderall. So it's like anything else, and having ADHD, and I talk about this from time to time, is all about finding your strengths. Pre-game stuff is loaded with so much happening, and I'm good. I can, because if things are changing, things are moving. But when you start getting into the crux of the game, I'll throw it back again to the circus. And knowing all the band people, my buddy Brett Barlow, who's the conductor for many years, he if you watch the band during the show, because they would play, Ringling Brothers would play the same show 15 times a weekend at times. Yeah. So it was like, it was a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you find ways to keep yourself entertained, different things you can do. And so myself, the guys up in the press box, once we got through the pregame ceremonies and we got into the crux of the game, we started having fun with, the songs you could pick out, and, and the whole, the elements of different things. And you find different ways to entertain yourself up there, and just do different things and have fun with it. So you find these little ways to stay engaged. But you're right, when it starts getting later into the game, when you have a rain delay, when it's like 11 o'clock and you're dog tired, because might be breaking news to your audience there, Mr. Fuller. Being a PA announcer does not pay a 6-figure salary. It barely pays a 5. Not even 5. It is something that you do for fun. So you have some fun with it. So a lot of times you're working a job during the day. So you find ways to stay engaged and stay involved. But there's, they got a great coffee machine up there. They feed you well. They keep the blood sugar up. They usually bring cookies up around the 7th inning. It's like, okay, I need one of those to kind of give yourself the jolts because you have fun. And to be honest with you, I love the fact that we do a lot of fun things during the game, in between the innings. That's what you look forward to. That's where you have fun with the fans and stuff. And I used to tell people all the time, look, you want to come visit me during a game, just either send me a message or, and when you come up to the press box on the last room on the left, just come in and say, if so long as I'm not talking, come in and say hi. And that was always fun to give people that experience and to kind of be the ambassador for a fun night, because those are the memories you make. So keeping that in the background of the mind it helps. But yeah, it's just, you find things to do and can make contemplations about sitting out the window there, high a perch. And it's like, and that was our last game that we played at McCoy. It was the last day, and there was a photog on the field. Kate, I forget her last name. Anyway, she was on the field, and I told Joe Jacobs, who was the director of Paw Sox Productions and stuff. I said, hey, call her up on the radio and tell her that she has, they have one of those mega lenses. I said, direct it up here. I'm gonna sit out the window. I want to just, and she did. She was great. Kate Fouts. Kate Fouts. She was the photographer who did that, and it was funny. And look, I had no idea that was going to be our last game, at McCoy, because that was the end of the season. Yeah, I still thought we had another season. I have video that I was planning to shoot during that last season to document, because I love creating stuff. It's, it's like you, it's always finding something different. So, but yeah,
a lot of fun. Again, Ben DeCastro, Instagram is BigBen_401, BigBen_401, and Twitter is Ben DeCastro_401. Yeah, I had the privilege of meeting Joe Castiglione a couple of times, and it was great.
Oh, wow.
He would say, I have probably 2.5 minutes if you want to just come in and say hi. And it was just fun and a great experience. But creating moments for people is so special, and it's so needed. One moment that I just think of, and I'm nowhere near what you do, even though you collect a 5-figure paycheck or whatever the case might be.
Four if I'm lucky. If I work enough games, it's 4.
Just add the decimal points, right? So,
right.
But it seems as though whenever the microphone would be on, when I was at the radio station, I still thought I could get that last bite in, but then I still had to chew or swallow and have that moment. Did you ever get caught with your mouth full, or with a side conversation and somebody's telling you that you're live, that your turn is on?
So here's the deal. The Star-Spangled Banner, I can tell you, by the time they say, I can tell you if I have enough time to hit the bathroom or not. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to the United States of America, the country, the land of the free and the home of the brave. But after doing over an hour and a half of pregame, keeping the vocal cords, hydrated and everything on hot days, eating before that, and then getting into the game, because really my only chance that I get to go to the bathroom is during the 7th inning, because I don't have to do anything during the 7th inning stretch. It literally goes to a video and I can go to the bathroom. I would have, sometimes I would employ an intern to say, go stand by the bathroom and block it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I say, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats. Here to perform our national anthem is so-and-so from so-and-so. As soon as I turn off that mic, I'm beelining it to the bathroom, and I'm listening to that, oh, say. There was one time where I heard, oh, say, can you? I'm like, oh, come on. I've got to go here. I'm dying. I wasn't going to make it, because you got to get back. And if the pitcher throws down, you're going.
Yeah. And
it's not like, okay, it's a new batter, I just called him out. He could pop fly out. He could get hit by a pitch and he's on base. Like, there's no like timing here. They don't take TV times out in AAA ball. So it's like you keep on going, keep on moving, keep that train going. So that was I never got caught with the food thing, or the trying to get that last bit of water in. I've been fortunate there, but the bathroom, that is another side of it.
That's a
For
real
sure.
thing. Hey, Ben DeCastro, YouTube, Ben DeCastro, subscribe to the YouTube channel right there. Ben DeCastro, you can find that easy enough. Ben, for some younger students, I coach at the high school and just help out where I can. And there's some kids that they just want to be on, ESPN or just be the color guy for a professional team. You mentioned a couple times how you do it because you love it. It's fun. It's just a good time. What advice would you give about expectations to that sophomore in high school?
You have an iPhone. The video that I've created that has the most views was shot with an iPhone. Okay, I have okay camera equipment, DSLR, a couple different things that I do with the work that I do, but everybody has this phone in their pocket, and you can make the content, you can set it up, and the goal is to grab your YouTube channel, grab all this stuff, start going. Now it's going to take work. You can't just throw things up and expect it to go. The viral things that happen in life, that's catching lightning in a bottle. You're lucky if you do it once. But the other stuff that you can see up there, and my bigger platform is Facebook. You can see by some of the views there, some of the views like the COVID Christmas one that you see right there, that's got 25,000 views.
Yeah.
But there are other ones there that, it's got 17 views, 45 views. It's a wide range there.
Sure.
Having the multiple platforms, the key is consistency in doing it and making sure that because once you upload it, it's done. You can't go back and change something, or else if you take it down, you lose all those views. So that's, from the performance side of things, that's one thing. As far as people who want to get into professional sports as a career, I will say this: never underestimate the entry point of sales. Whether it be ticket sales or corporate sponsorship sales, because that is going to introduce you to so many people and introduce you through so many parts of the organization. And then the other thing I'll tell you is read every script you can.
Yeah.
A month before we get back to baseball, I start in the car when I'm driving. I start reading signs and billboards out loud, sight reading them. I can practice the script. I can hold it up here, and I know how to say the opening lines. But every now and then, before and I can pre-read the script all you want, but something changes, and they're like, "Hey, there you go. Read this," or they send it to me on the computer, and I either have to self-edit it. It was written by somebody who didn't write it for. There's a difference. There's writing for something to be read, in your mind, like quietly as you read with your eyes. And there are things that are meant to be written to be spoken. And sometimes people who are writing it don't even say it out loud. And I would ask sometimes, like, did you say this? Did you try this? Because it doesn't sound right. So you have to edit on the fly. My whole thing was training myself and getting better at that whole, sight reading quickly. And as crazy as that sounds, it takes work. It takes practice. So whether it be it's a script that you download from online or whatever, put yourself in front of the camera, play the game. John Rook, who teaches at Dean College, he actually teaches broadcasting, play-by-play. Yeah. And there will be games in the summertime at McCoy, or now up at Polar Park, where we have tables set up on the top of the concourse, the top high level. And he just sets up a bunch of audio recorders and the headphone things. He's got all his students there practicing. Okay. And they go through and they analyze. Okay, well, you had some down stuff here. Start doing that now. Start putting that stuff up there. Connect with these guys. These people who are, whether they be broadcasters, find the groups on social media, on Facebook or whatever, and learn from them. There are more resources out there now than ever. The key is you've got to do it. You've actually got to put the work in. It's called craft. It's called putting the time in. It's just what you do. This, I don't know what number interview this is for you, but you're very good at it. I would have put money on the fact that your first one didn't go as smoothly as this one. My first game, I was like, I was all over the place. Bogusevic was a player, and I kept on calling him Bogazovic because it was just, they're like, no, it was an Armenian name. You got to say all the letters. Kept on making him, German, Bogazovic, whatever. But you have to you have to do it. You have to get in there. You have to make the mistakes. You have to work on it. So the earlier you do that, the more you get that stuff out there. That's how it grows.
Yeah, I remember when I was on radio that my boss, Ken Squire at the time on NASCAR fame, he said, read more out loud to my children who 12 years ago, they were young. And that just helped because so many times as an adult, you just read in your head, nothing's out loud, and it just helps develop that craft. As we let you go, I have a question that I stole from Hernando Planos, the Be Contagious podcast. Make sure you check that out. 2-part question. Maybe for you, it'll be a 3-part question. If or when the feature film is made about your life, who plays you in that feature film?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. It's going to have to be somebody wiry, somebody kind of hyper, somebody kind of all over the place. I mean, maybe Johnny Depp.
There you go. That's good.
Maybe, maybe Johnny Depp or Johnny Knoxville, one of the two.
And I always share with people that because we look so much alike, I choose Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play me in that feature film. But
clearly, yeah, I mean, you and him walk into a bar or a restaurant, they're thinking you're twins.
Exactly. The second part to that question is, who plays your love interest in that feature film?
Gwen Stefani.
All right. And then finally, for you and you alone, who plays your brother-in-law, Peter Engler, in that feature film about your life?
It's going to have to be a Boston actor. You know, it's probably going to have to be Ben Affleck.
That works.
Because Peter Engler is Peter Engler, I don't know if you know this. He's a huge Boston fan. He loves all Boston sports. You know, he is huge on the Patriots, loves the Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins. I mean, there's nothing New York about that kid at all.
Yeah. We got to pray for that guy. We got to pray for him.
You know, sins can be forgiven. Sins can be forgiven.
Hey, Ben, thanks so much for making the time. It's a pleasure. And we'll get you back on. Hopefully there'll be a season, but even before that, we'll try to reconnect.
Hey, I hope you, if we do have a season, Jeff, I hope you're able to come down and join me in the press box for a little while and hang out. And this is great, folks. Subscribe, and more importantly, rate this guy's podcast. Nothing short of 5 stars.
Hey, if I come down, I'll be your bathroom blocker so you can get in during that time.
He's good. Come on. The urinal number 2. It's open for you. Go, go, go.
All right, Ben. Hey, take care. Thanks so much. And again, that's Ben DeCastro. You can find him Instagram, BigBen_401, BigBen_401. Twitter is Ben DeCastro_401, and YouTube is just Ben DeCastro. Again, my name is Jeff Fuller. You're listening to Jay Fuller Interviews. Subscribe on YouTube, Jay Fuller Interviews, the Facebook group, Jay Fuller Interviews, Instagram and Twitter, Jay Fuller Interviews, and now the Backfire Podcast with Jeff Fuller of Jay Fuller Interviews on Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, wherever you take the time and make the time to listen and join in. Thanks all. Wish you all the best and enjoy the rest of your day.